My father shared the video that destroyed our family. He didn't know it was me in it. He posted it with a laughing emoji and the caption, "This is what's wrong with America." 3 million views later, someone tagged him, "Pastor James, isn't that your son?" I watched him read that comment during Sunday service. I watched his face change. I watched him walk off the pulpit mid-sermon. That was 6 months ago. We haven't spoken since. If you've ever been exposed by the person who was supposed to protect you, this story is going to hit different. Drop a like if you want to hear more stories about what happens when your secret becomes everyone's entertainment. I was 23 and still living in my childhood bedroom in Marietta, Georgia. Not because I couldn't afford to leave, but because leaving would have required explanations I wasn't ready to give. My father, Pastor James Whitmore, led one of those megachurches that films everything and posts it online. 5,000 in-person congregants every Sunday. 50,000 more watching from home. He built his entire ministry on traditional family values, which was code for a lot of things, but mainly for, "My son better not be gay." My mom knew. Mothers always know. She found Grindr on my phone 2 years earlier when I asked her to check a text while I was driving. She didn't say anything for 3 days. Then she cornered me in the kitchen at midnight and whispered, "I don't understand it, but you're my son. Just please, don't tell your father. Not yet. He's not ready. Not ready." Like my existence was something that required preparation, a sermon series, maybe a prayer retreat. So I built a double life with the precision of a stage manager. I kept my hair cut the way Dad liked. I dated Sarah from the worship team for appearances. Poor girl thought we were actually going somewhere. I volunteered with the youth group. I quoted scripture at dinner. And on Friday nights, when I told them I was going to Bible study at Marcus's house, I drove 40 minutes to Atlanta and became myself for a few hours. That's where I met David. Not at a club or a bar, at a coffee shop in Little 5 Points. He was reading James Baldwin and drinking something with oat milk, and when I sat down across from him with my black coffee and asked if the book was any good, he looked at me like he could see straight through my polo shirt and pleated khakis into the person I was pretending not to be. "You look like you're about to ask me if I've accepted Jesus as my personal savior," he said. "Already have. Several times. It doesn't take." He laughed. We talked for 4 hours. I missed Bible study entirely. David was 26, worked in tech, lived in a loft in the old 4th Ward that probably cost more than my dad's annual salary. He was out to everyone. Parents, co-workers, his fucking mailman probably knew. He wore his identity like it was the most natural thing in the world, which I guess it was, for him. For me, it was a secret I carried in my chest like a stone, heavy enough to drown me but too precious to let go. We started seeing each other every weekend. Then twice a week. Then whenever I could sneak away. My mom covered for me sometimes, inventing church obligations that didn't exist. She'd say, "Cameron's helping organize the mission trip," when really I was at David's place watching movies and learning what it felt like to hold hands with someone without checking every window first. 6 months in, David asked me to move in with him. "You're 23 years old, living in a bedroom with a cross on every wall and a father who would disown you if he knew who you actually were. What are you waiting for?" "I don't know. The right moment. A sign." "Cam, there's no right moment. You're waiting for permission that's never coming. Your dad's never going to wake up one morning and say, 'Hey son, feel free to be gay now, I've evolved.'" He was right. I knew he was right. But knowing didn't make it easier. That night, I drove home practicing the speech. "Dad, Mom, I need to tell you something. I'm gay. I have a boyfriend. His name is David. I'm moving in with him next month." I must have rehearsed it 40 times. Changed the wording. Softened it. Made it harsher. Tried to predict every possible reaction. I never got the chance to use it. Because 2 weeks later, Marcus actually did invite me to Bible study. Real one this time, with the guys from church. We met at Jason's house. His older brother Tyler was visiting from Athens, back from college for spring break, and he brought a bunch of his friends. The place filled up fast. 20 people, maybe more, all of us crammed into a basement that smelled like weed and Axe body spray despite the half-hearted attempt to look studious with Bibles scattered on the coffee table. "Let's get a group photo," Tyler announced around midnight. Everyone was loose by then, the Bible study having devolved into just people hanging out, talking, laughing. Normal 20-something stuff. We crowded together. Someone made a joke. David had texted me earlier, "Wish I was there," with a heart emoji, and I was feeling bold in that stupid, dangerous way you feel when you think you're invisible in a crowd. Tyler's friend Alex was next to me, shoulder to shoulder. He whispered something funny about Jason's terrible taste in music. I laughed, turned toward him, and in that brief, unguarded moment, the kind of moment that happens 100 times in every friendship but means something different when you're hiding, I let my guard down. Alex's hand brushed mine. Completely accidental. But I didn't pull away fast enough. And when Tyler snapped the photo, we were standing too close, my body angled toward Alex in a way that, if you were looking for it, told a story I'd spent my whole life trying not to write. "Got it!" Tyler yelled, already posting it to his Instagram story. "Bible study boys." The photo was innocent. Truly innocent. But I knew the moment I saw it on his feed that someone, somewhere, would see what I saw. Me, not careful enough, not straight enough, caught in a fraction of a second that felt like a confession. I screenshot it and deleted my own social media that night. Just in case. I should have known you can't delete what's already been seen. The video appeared 3 days later on one of those garbage viral content pages. You know the ones, cringe moments caught on camera, when keeping it real goes wrong, collections of people's worst moments packaged as entertainment for strangers. Someone had screen-recorded Tyler's story, zoomed in on me and Alex, added a rainbow effect, and the caption, "Church boys caught eyes rainbow flag." Ridiculous. Juvenile. But it had something people love: hypocrisy, religion, and the suggestion of scandal. It hit 500,000 views in 24 hours. I didn't know about it immediately. I was at David's place, having finally worked up the courage to tell my mom I was serious about moving out. We'd agreed to have lunch on Tuesday, neutral territory, a Panera Bread 20 minutes from the house. I'd rehearsed a softer version of the speech, something about finding my own path and needing independence. David was coaching me. Don't apologize for existing. Don't make it about him. This is your life. My phone started blowing up around 11 a.m. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize. "Is this you?" With a link. Then another. Then 7 more. Marcus called. "Bro, don't freak out, but there's this video." I opened the link. There I was, frozen in a moment that meant nothing and everything. The rainbow effect made it worse, cartoonish and mocking. The comments were a cesspool, half people laughing, half people spewing the kind of hate that makes you understand why the suicide rates are what they are. Someone had identified Tyler's Instagram. Then Jason's. Then, because the universe has a sick sense of humor, someone recognized me. "Wait, isn't that Pastor James Whitmore's son?" That comment started its own thread. People pulling up photos of me from the church's social media. Standing behind my father during baptisms. Serving communion. Playing guitar in the worship band. Every image evidence of the exact hypocrisy people love to feast on. Then the unthinkable happened. My father shared it. Not the version with my name attached. He saw it early, before I'd been identified, when it was still just "Church boys caught." He posted it to his own Facebook page. 20,000 followers, all conservative Christians, all the people who funded his ministry and filled his pews, with that caption. "This is what's wrong with America." 140 comments agreeing with him. Amen. Praying for this generation. The devil is working overtime. My father, unknowingly, condemning his own son to the people who trusted him most. Then someone tagged him. I was still at David's place when it happened. We'd stopped coaching and started damage control, trying to figure out if I should get ahead of it or wait it out. My mom called. She was crying. "Cameron, your father, he just left the service." Middle of the sermon. Someone showed him. "I know. He knows, baby. He knows." David held my hand while I listened to my mom sob through the phone. She kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," like she was the one who'd done something wrong. "Is he okay?" I asked, which was a stupid question. Of course he wasn't okay. His worst fear had just been confirmed in the most public, humiliating way possible. His son was gay, and now everyone knew, and he'd been the one to broadcast it. "He's in his office." He locked the door. "Cameron, don't come home right now. Please. Give him time." Time for what? To figure out how to disown me properly? To write a sermon about the gay son who betrayed him? That's not fair. Mom, he shared a video mocking gay people that had me in it. He called it, "What's Wrong with America?" Me. I'm what's wrong with America. She had no answer for that. I hung up. David pulled me against his chest and let me break down in a way I'd never let myself before. Loud, ugly crying that came from some deep place I'd kept locked up since I was 12 and first realized that the feelings I had weren't going to go away, weren't going to be prayed out or fasted away or rebuked in the name of Jesus. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from church members ranged from supportive, "We love you no matter what," to vicious, "You're the reason America is falling apart." Sarah texted asking if we could talk. Marcus sent a paragraph apologizing for the photo, like any of this was his fault. Tyler deleted his entire Instagram account. By evening, the video had 3 million views. Local news picked it up. Prominent Georgia pastor's son at center of viral LGBTQ controversy. They interviewed church members outside the building. Half said they'd pray for our family. The other half said my father should step down, that he'd lost moral authority by raising a gay son. Like I was something that happened to him. A failure of parenting. A consequence of insufficient prayer. David ordered food I couldn't eat. Put on a movie I couldn't watch. Finally just sat with me in silence while I scrolled through the wreckage of my life happening in real time on the internet. Around midnight, my father posted a statement. "My family is going through a private matter that has unfortunately become public. I ask for your prayers during this difficult time. We believe in the power of Christ to transform all hearts, including our own, and we are seeking his guidance. Out of respect for my family, I will be taking a brief sabbatical from preaching. Associate Pastor Williams will lead services until further notice." 60 words. Not one of them was my name. Not one of them was, "I love my son." The comments under his post were their own kind of violence. People debating my soul, my worth, my future like I was a theological thought experiment instead of a person. Someone started a prayer chain specifically for my deliverance from homosexuality. Someone else suggested conversion therapy. "We should go away for a few days," David said. "Get out of Atlanta. Let things cool down." Things aren't going to cool down. My father just told 5,000 people he needs to pray for transformation. He's not talking about himself. Then you don't go back. You stay here. We get your stuff from the house when he's not there. You start your life. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple, Cam. You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep him warm. But it wasn't simple. Because part of me still hoped that my father would call, would text, would show up at David's door and say something, anything, that acknowledged I was still his son. That the 23 years before this moment counted for something. That he loved me more than he loved his reputation. My phone lit up. My heart jumped. It was Sarah. "I'm so sorry this happened to you. You deserve to come out on your own terms. Praying for you. Not my father. Never my father. I didn't go home. Not that night, not the next day, not the day after that." David cleared space in his closet without asking. Made me a key. Told his friends I was moving in and dared any of them to have a problem with it. His mom called from Oregon and said, "Tell Cameron we love him and he's always welcome at Thanksgiving." People I'd never met offering more acceptance in 30 seconds than my own father had in 23 years. But acceptance from strangers doesn't fill the hole left by your family. My mom came by on day 4. She looked like she'd aged a decade. Brought 3 trash bags of my clothes, my laptop, my guitar. Things she'd packed while my father was at the church office, hiding like a teenager sneaking contraband. "He's not ready to see you," she said. We were standing in David's parking lot. She wouldn't come upstairs. "He's processing." "Processing what, exactly? That I exist? That I've always been this way? Or that he humiliated both of us by sharing that video?" "He's hurt, Cameron. He's hurt. Mom, he called me what's wrong with America. He shared a video mocking gay people that had me in it. He wrote a statement about transformation like I'm some kind of project that needs fixing. But sure, he's the one who's hurt." She started crying. Again. I was so tired of watching my mother cry. "I know you don't understand, but this is hard for him. Everything he built, everything he believes, it's all being challenged. People are questioning his leadership. There are calls for him to step down. The elders are meeting daily. Donations are down. He's drowning, baby." "And what about me? Am I drowning? Do I count?" "Of course you count. Then why hasn't he called? Why hasn't he asked if I'm okay? Why hasn't he apologized for sharing that video?" She had no answer. Just more tears. More excuses wrapped in prayer language. He's seeking God's will. He's fasting. He's trying to understand. There's nothing to understand. I'm gay. I've always been gay. I didn't choose this, and I'm not going to apologize for it. If he can't accept that, then he needs to say it. But he doesn't get to pretend I don't exist while he figures out how to spin this for his congregation. My mom pulled me into a hug that felt like goodbye. "I love you. No matter what. Please remember that." "Does Dad love me?" She pulled back. Couldn't look me in the eye. "Of course he does. Then why doesn't it feel like it?" She left without answering. The bags of clothes sat in David's living room for 3 days before I could bring myself to unpack them. Every shirt smelled like home. Every familiar item a reminder of the life I'd lost access to overnight. The video eventually died down. Something else went viral. The internet moved on. But my life didn't. Church members still whispered. My father's sabbatical stretched into weeks, then a month. Associate Pastor Williams preached sermon after sermon about staying strong in biblical truth, that everyone knew was coded language about me. Sarah came by once. We got coffee at a Starbucks far from Marietta, neutral ground where we wouldn't be recognized. She'd cut her hair short and had this energy about her like she'd been released from something. "I'm sorry I used you," I said. "I'm sorry I let you." I think part of me knew, but it was easier to pretend. Dating the pastor's son looked good on my resume. She smiled, sad but genuine. "Are you okay?" "Honestly, no. But I'm more okay than I would be if I was still pretending. Your dad's struggling. I've seen him at church. He looks lost." "Good. Maybe being lost will teach him some empathy. Or maybe it'll make him harder." She was right. The longer my father stayed silent, the more entrenched he became in his position. He started attending men's ministry meetings about protecting the family. He brought in guest speakers on biblical sexuality. He was building a fortress of theology to justify his rejection, brick by brick, scripture by scripture. Meanwhile, I was building a different life. Got a job at a marketing firm in Midtown. Started therapy with a guy who specialized in religious trauma. Went to my first Pride event and cried the entire time because I'd never seen so many people just existing freely, loudly, unapologetically. David held my hand the whole day and didn't once make me feel weak for crying. But every Sunday morning, I still woke up at 7 a.m. like my body hadn't gotten the memo that I wasn't going to church anymore. Every time my phone rang, my heart jumped hoping it was my father. Every time it wasn't, the rejection carved itself a little deeper. 3 months in, my mom stopped coming by. She'd call from the car, quick conversations where she sounded afraid someone might hear. "Your father says I'm enabling you. He wants me to practice tough love. He thinks if we cut you off, you'll come back to God. Come back to God or come back to the closet. Cameron. Tell him I never left God. I just left his version of what God is supposed to be." The calls got shorter, further apart. Eventually, they stopped altogether. Marcus was the only one from my old life who stayed in contact. He'd text every few days. "Still praying for you," which somehow didn't feel like an attack when it came from him. He told me Tyler was in therapy, felt horrible about the photo, that Jason's family had left the church, that the whole Bible study group had basically imploded under the weight of everyone's parents' reactions. "Your dad preached last Sunday," Marcus texted one evening. "First time back. He talked about job, about suffering for righteousness' sake, about staying faithful even when your family falls away from truth." I stared at that message for an hour. My father had returned to the pulpit and compared himself to Job, made himself the righteous sufferer in this story, made me the trial sent to test his faith. I blocked his number that night. Not out of anger. Well, not just anger, but out of survival. Because every time I saw his name, every time I imagined him preaching about staying faithful while his gay son was being erased, I felt something inside me break a little more. David found me on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m., having a panic attack. "I can't breathe. I can't. Why doesn't he love me enough? What did I do wrong?" "You didn't do anything wrong. You're perfect. He's the one failing, not you." But it didn't feel like that. It felt like I'd been weighed on some cosmic scale and found wanting. Like the God I'd grown up praying to had looked at me and decided my father's comfort was worth more than my existence. Therapy helped. Slowly. The therapist, Dr. Morgan, had this way of reframing things that made the pain make sense without making it hurt less. Your father's rejection is about his fears, not your worth. He's afraid of losing his community, his identity, his sense of control. You're not responsible for managing his fear. "But he's my dad." Yes. And parents are supposed to love unconditionally. When they don't, it's not because you're unlovable. It's because they're not capable of the love you deserve. I wanted that to be enough. To be healed by therapy and time and David's steady presence. But grief doesn't work that way. Some days I was fine. Great, even. Building my life. Making new friends, discovering who I was outside the shadow of my father's expectations. Other days I was 17 again, begging God to make me normal, bargaining away pieces of myself for a love that was always conditional. The 6-month mark came and went. My father never called, never texted, never showed up at David's door. He chose his pulpit over his son, and that choice echoed through every achievement I had that he'd never know about. Every moment of joy that felt incomplete without his approval, every holiday that came and went without an invitation home. I learned to live with it the way you learn to live with a chronic injury. It aches when it rains. It flares up without warning. You adjust your life around it. But it never fully heals. The text from my mom came on a random Tuesday in October, almost 8 months after the video. "Your father had a heart attack. He's stable. Thought you should know." I was at work, in the middle of a meeting about Q4 marketing strategies. I excused myself, walked to the bathroom, and sat in a stall staring at those 12 words. "Your father had a heart attack." Like she was telling me about a stranger. Clinical. Distant. Thought you should know. Not, please come. Not, he's asking for you. Just information, delivered like a weather report. I called David. "What do I do?" "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. I'm angry at him. I hate what he did. But he's still my dad. If he died without us talking, then you go. And whatever happens, I'm with you." We drove to Northside Hospital that evening. My hands shook the entire way. David kept one hand on the wheel and one on my leg, steady and sure in a way I wasn't. In the parking lot, I almost turned back 3 times. "You don't have to see him," David said. "You can just check that he's okay and leave. You don't owe him a deathbed reconciliation." But I walked in anyway, because hope is a cruel thing. It survives long after it should have died. My mom was in the waiting room with Associate Pastor Williams and half the church elders. She stood when she saw me, surprise and relief mixing on her face. "Cameron, how is he?" "Stable. It was minor. They're keeping him overnight for observation. She glanced at David standing slightly behind me. You brought my boyfriend, David. He's my family now. The elders shifted uncomfortably. Pastor Williams cleared his throat. Perhaps it would be best if your friend waited here. Your father's been through a lot. David comes with me or I leave. Those are the options. My mom nodded, exhausted. Room 437. We walked down the hallway together, past rooms full of other people's crises, other families holding vigil. At the door, I paused. David squeezed my hand. I'm right here. My father was awake, propped up in bed, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. No pulpit to stand behind. No microphone to project his voice. Just a man in a hospital gown with an M4 in his arm and a monitor beeping next to him. He saw me and something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or fear. Cameron. Dad. A minute of silence that felt like drowning. Mom said you're okay. That it was minor. Yes. Doctor says I need to reduce stress. Change my diet. Exercise more. He smiled weakly, a shadow of the charismatic preacher who commanded attention every Sunday. Getting old. You're 56. That's not old. Another silence. I could hear David breathing behind me. Steady. Present. My father's eyes flicked to David, then away. You came. Yeah. I didn't expect you to. Neither did I. He looked at his hands, at the M4, at anything but me. I've been meaning to call. I didn't know what to say. You could have started with, I'm sorry. Sorry for what? And there it was. The question that revealed everything. He genuinely didn't know. Or worse, he knew and didn't think he'd done anything wrong. For sharing that video. For making that statement about transformation. For choosing the church over me. For 8 months of silence. For making me feel like I had to choose between being your son and being myself. My voice cracked. For making me think that your love had conditions I could never meet. Cameron, you have to understand. My position, the church, everything I've built. I don't care about your position. I care that you're my father and you abandoned me when I needed you most. You didn't ask if I was okay. You didn't ask where I was living. You didn't ask about my life. You just erased me. That's not fair. You're the one who left. I didn't leave. You pushed me out. You called me what's wrong with America. You shared a video mocking people like me. What was I supposed to do? Stay and let you pray the gay away? Sit in your church and listen to sermons about biblical sexuality knowing you're talking about me? He looked up, and for a moment I saw something raw in his face. I didn't know it was you in that video. If I had known. What? You wouldn't have shared it? But it would have been fine if it was someone else's son? Dad, don't you see? The problem isn't that you accidentally mocked me. The problem is that you think mocking gay people is acceptable at all. The Bible is clear. The Bible also says to love your neighbor, to not judge, to show mercy. But somehow those verses don't make it into your sermons about homosexuality. He closed his eyes. I've prayed so much. Asked God to help me understand. To show me how to fix this. There's nothing to fix. I'm not broken. You can't pray me straight. You can't sermon me back into the closet. This is who I am. This is who I've always been. The only question is whether you can accept that and still be my father. I want to. I do. But everything I believes I'm an abomination, believes I'm choosing sin, believes I'm going to hell. I was crying now, angry tears I'd been holding for 8 months. If your beliefs require you to reject your son, maybe your beliefs are wrong. David stepped forward, put a hand on my shoulder. My father's eyes tracked the movement, seeing for the first time the tenderness between us, the intimacy of a relationship he'd refused to acknowledge. You love him, my father said. Statement, not question. Yes. And he loves you. David answered before I could. More than anything. My father looked at David for a long moment, taking in the man his son had chosen. The relationship that existed despite his disapproval, without his blessing, in the space he'd tried to pray out of existence. I don't know how to reconcile this with my faith, he said finally. I don't know how to tell my congregation. I don't need you to make a statement. I don't need you to wave a rainbow flag at Pride. I just need you to be my dad. To call me sometimes. To ask about my life. To invite me to Thanksgiving without making me leave my boyfriend in the car. Your mother said you blocked my number. Because every day you didn't call was another rejection. I couldn't keep waiting for you to choose me. He nodded slowly. Looked at his hands again. I've been a coward. Yes. I was afraid of losing everything. The church, the respect, the ministry. I've spent 30 years building something. The thought of it all crumbling. I'm your son. I should have been more important than all of that. I know. 2 words. Quiet. Simple. Not enough to fix 8 months of silence, but maybe enough to start. I can't promise I'll understand, he said. I can't promise I'll be perfect at this. But I can promise I'll try. If you'll let me. I looked at David. He nodded. Not pushing, just supporting whatever I decided. This was my choice. My boundary to set. I need you to say it, I said. Say you love me. Say you accept me. Say you're sorry. Not because of the heart attack. Not because you almost died without making this right, but because you mean it. My father's eyes filled with tears I'd never seen before. I love you. I'm sorry. I don't understand this, but I'm going to try. You're my son and I've failed you and I'm so sorry. Not a perfect apology. Not absolution. But it was real. Raw. Human. I stepped closer to the bed. David stayed back, giving us space. I love you too. But trust isn't automatic. You're going to have to prove this wasn't just a deathbed conversion. I will. And David is part of my life. Not negotiable. If you can't accept him, you can't have me. My father looked at David again. Extended a shaking hand. I'm James. David took it. I know. Cameron talks about you. A lot. I imagine not all of it good. Not all of it. But enough that I understand why this matters to him. We stayed for another hour. Talking carefully, like people learning a new language. My mom came in, cried when she saw us together. The elders had left, uncomfortable with the scene playing out outside their theology. Nothing was fixed. We didn't hug. He didn't take back the things he'd preached. But it was a beginning. Fragile. Uncertain. Real. Driving home, David asked, "How do you feel?" I don't know. Relieved. Angry. Hopeful. All of it at once. That sounds about right. Thank you for being there. Always. My father called 2 days later. Awkward. Brief. Just checking in. Seeing how you're doing. I'm good. Working. Living with David. We adopted a cat. A cat. Yeah. Orange tabby. His name is Baldwin. Silence. Then, after James Baldwin? Yeah. I've never read his work. You should. Another silence. Maybe you could recommend something. We could talk about it. It wasn't much, but it was more than 8 months of nothing. Yeah. I'd like that. It's been a year now since the video. I'm 24, living in Midtown with David and Baldwin the cat. I have a job I like, friends who know me completely, a therapist I see every other week. I went to Pride again this year, and this time I didn't cry. I danced. My father and I talk once a week. Sundays. Ironically. Short calls, usually about surface things. Work, the weather, how the Braves are doing. Sometimes we go deeper. He asks about David now, remembers details about our life. Asks about the wedding we're planning for next fall. He hasn't committed to coming yet, but he hasn't said no. My mom came to dinner last month. David cooked. She brought a pie and a small rainbow pin on her purse that she thought we wouldn't notice. We did. She cried when we acknowledged it. Baby steps, she said. My father stepped down from the pulpit 6 months ago. Not because of me, or not just because of me, but because he said he needed to examine his faith more closely. He's in therapy too now. He tells me about it in careful terms, like he's embarrassed to admit he needs help reconstructing his belief system. I'm reading a lot, he said on our last call. Trying to understand. There are theologians who interpret things differently, who say love is the primary commandment, not judgment. What do you think? I think I've spent 30 years being certain about things that maybe required more humility, more listening, more love. It's not a full apology, not complete acceptance. He still struggles, still has days where I can hear the conflict in his voice, the weight of choosing between the faith he's known and the son he's trying to love more fully. But he's trying. And that's more than I had a year ago. Sarah's engaged now, to a woman she met at nursing school. She texted me a photo of the ring. Turns out we were both using each other for cover. But now we're free. I sent her a rainbow emoji. She sent back 5. Marcus still checks in. He's questioning too, asking questions about faith and sexuality that his church can't answer without platitudes. You broke something, he told me. In a good way. Made us all realize we'd been parroting theology without examining it. Tyler deleted all his social media permanently. Got sober. Apologized in a long handwritten letter that arrived at David's place. I never meant for any of this. I hope you've found peace. I wrote back. I have. The video's still out there. 3 million views frozen in time. Sometimes people recognize me from it. Most don't say anything. A few have approached me, usually younger kids, still closeted, still terrified. Your story helped me, they say. Knowing you survived it. I tell them what I wish someone had told me. You will survive this. The people who can't love you as you are don't deserve access to who you'll become. David proposed last Christmas. We were at his mom's house in Oregon, surrounded by his family who'd welcomed me without hesitation. He got down on one knee in front of everyone and said, "You're the bravest person I know. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he finished the question.